Okay, today we're going to work on measuring angles using protractors. Before we get started on this video, I want to make sure that those who are watching are aware that the type of protractor we are using today is different from the majority of protractors that are purchased in stores, but these are the same protractors that we use in class that will be used on the state test and is the exact same protractor that I have already sent home with all of the students. Alright, so the reason this one is different is because if you look here, you can see that the 0 is at the very bottom of the protractor. The 0 over here and the 180 as well as the 180 over here. Now this is different because most protractors come with a ruler at the bottom, and so the 0 is actually raised inside, right about where the 1 from 170 is. We've chosen to use this protractor because it's a little bit easier to learn how to use than it is trying to line up something that's up there. Alright, so the very first step in measuring an angle is to classify it. So if I look at this angle here, I can tell that this angle is greater than a right angle, but it is less than a straight angle. So I'm actually going to classify this before I do anything else as obtuse. Okay, the next thing I need to do is find my vertex. So I'm going to put a dot right where my vertex is. Makes it a little easier to see, especially on this obtuse angle where it almost is a straight angle. I just want to make sure that I'm absolutely accurate. Alright, the next thing is to decide where I'm going to measure from. I'm going to use this side as the bottom of my angle. So I'm going to take my protractor and I'm going to line it up right on the bottom. Alright, now you can see here, I'm going to slide down just a smidge, alright, that the word Charles Leonard can be read. I know that I'm holding my protractor correctly because I can see the word Charles Leonard. Now if I flip it over, look at that. Now I'm looking at China, but it's backwards. Charles Leonard over here, but it's backwards. So I want to make sure that I'm holding my protractor the correct way. I'm going to line the bottom arm or leg of my angle up with the bottom of my protractor. So you can still see the line. It's right here. I haven't covered it with my protractor, but it falls directly at the bottom. I'm then going to slide my protractor down to here. Now what I just did was I lined up the bottom of this line here, this center line, with my vertex, ensuring that I'm still at the bottom. Okay, once I'm lined up at the bottom of the angle and the bottom of my protractor, and I have right here with my vertex lined up, then I know that I am ready to measure. The next thing I need to decide is how is my angle opening? Does my angle open this way or this way? Well, this is going to be 0, so it opens this way. So I'm going to use the lines, or the numbers, that count up from here. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way down until I find my line right here. Now I can see it goes right through 170, a little bit past it. And if I go all the way over to here, I can use these tiny little tick marks here. And I can see that it actually goes through the 1. So this would be 170 where the 10 is. 170 and 10 are at the same point on this protractor right here. But because I'm using this scale, I know it's 170, not 10. But then it's over just 1 notch. So I'm actually going to move it over and I'm going to say that this is a 171 degree angle. All right, let's try another. All right, again, I'm going to mark my vertex and I'm going to classify this angle. Now this is smaller than a right angle so that I know that this is an acute angle. I'm going to write that right on the line, acute, so I don't lose it. All right, and just as I did before, I'm going to choose an arm to be the bottom, and I'm going to use this one here. So I'm going to take my protractor, make sure Charles Leonard is facing up. Perfect. I'm going to line up at the bottom, and then, so the bottom of my protractor is now lined up with the bottom of my angle. I'm going to slide it down so that the vertex lines up with that center line of my protractor, just like that. All right, then I'm going to look here. I'm going to say, okay, it's opening this direction. So again, I'm using the 0, 10, 20 right here. I'm going to see it's going between 20 and 30, follow it up here. And I can see now this would be 20, this would be 30. So I have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. So I'm going to call this a 26 degree angle. All right, we're going to keep on going. Let's do another. All right, so marking my vertex, this is greater than a 90 degree angle and less than a straight angle, so I know again this is going to be an obtuse angle. All right, Checking here. I'm going to line up the bottom of my protractor with this bottom arm of the angle here, just like that. Slide it over so that center line is lined up with my vertex. Straighten this out just a smidge. There we go. All right, now I know I'm going to use that same scale, 0, 10, 20, because it's all the way over to here. Now I can see that it's between 150 and 160. I go up here. 20 would be 160, so it's above that a little bit, so I actually have to count down because remember 30 would be 150. And this is actually going to be 159 degrees. A good thing to check to make sure you've used the right scale is say, okay, I said this is an obtuse angle. Is my measure an obtuse measure? And in fact, it is in this case, so I know that I am correct. It is 150 degrees. 159 degrees. All right, let's keep moving. All right, this angle is an acute angle because it is smaller than a right angle, but it is greater than 0 degrees. So mark that dot there for my vertex. Write down acute. I'm going to use this as the bottom arm. Take my protractor again. Boom, there it is. All right, line up the bottom, that bottom arm right there underneath my protractor. But I'm not putting the protractor on top of that line like this, right? Like I'm not covering it. It's not down there. It's still visible under the protractor. So I'm literally just setting it on it. Then I'm going to move that center line to be lined up with our vertex. Choose the scale. I'm going to start at 0 here, 0, 10, 20, all the way up. It's between 50 and 60 degrees. I follow up. 130 would be 50 degrees. 120 is equal to the 60 degree mark. And I can see that this right here is the 55 mark, and then it's up 1. So it's actually, in fact, 56 degrees. So I write down 56 degrees. All right, let's keep moving. All right. Now this is clearly an acute angle. So I'm going to write acute. I'm going to use this as my vertex. All right. Now I'm going to line up. I'm going to use this as the bottom of my angle. So I line up right there, and then I slide down so that center line right in the middle is lined up with my vertex. Everything's lined up there. Now this time I'm using a different scale because now my 0 needs to be on this side, right? My 0 was over here before. Now it's 0, 10, and then I can see 11, 12, 13. So this is a 13 degree angle. And again, I use that check. Is this an acute measure? Yes, it is. 13 degrees is acute. All right, we'll do one more. All right, this also is an acute angle. I'm going to mark that. Mark my vertex. Take my protractor. I'm going to use this as the bottom of my angle. So I take my protractor. I can see Charles Leonard, China. There it is. Line it up at the bottom. Slide this center line down to my vertex so that it's right there. All right, let's see. Okay, now I can see I'm going to use this scale. Oop, I need to slide down. There it is. I'm going to use this scale here. And it's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. It goes right through 50. And then if I follow it up here, it is, in fact, a 50 degree angle. All right. Now that is how you measure angles with a protractor.